Today is all about growing loquats here in the Arizona desert. That's up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here at the end of March in 2022. Now if you've been following us along, you know that we have over 170 fruit trees here on this newly establishing desert farm, and one of the unique fruits we're growing here are loquats. For those of you here in Arizona, and really kind of anywhere, you may not have heard of these unique fruit. Now, I'm from Southern California, so I'm very used to seeing loquats. In fact, they were growing on the sides of the road where I'm from. But here in the desert, we have a few challenges that are a little unique. But one of the things I think you'll find is it's really not that hard. One of the unique things for us here in Arizona when it comes to loquats is you have to be very careful with when you plant these trees. One of the things about loquats is they do very, very well in our fall through spring months, but they struggle a little bit during the summertime. So ideally, you'll want to buy your loquat trees in the fall and get them planted in, say, October, and let them get through that first winter season in spring before they hit that rough patch come summer. The trees that you're going to be seeing today, we have 4 different varieties, and all of those were purchased in October of 2020. We're here in March of 2022, so all of them have been in the ground for about a year and a half. Now, when it comes to planting the trees, we do the same thing with these trees that we do with all of our trees here on the farm. We have a double ring design that's set up so that it waters the young tree while they're young for at least the first 6 to 12 months, and then we water in an outer ring that's at the drip line of each one of those trees. These are on the same irrigation schedule as the rest of our fruit trees, so when you're dealing with planting, you can see that it's very similar to all the rest of your fruit trees, at least if you're doing something similar to what we do here. So one of the questions we get asked all the time about all the fruit trees, but loquats in particular, is whether or not you need to shade the trees. Now, I'm under this tree, so it's giving me shade, but that's because the sun is completely open above it. So we give them absolutely no protection from the sun at all. And that's very important because that not only helps these fruit ripen, but it also allows these leaves to get nice and big, which is what feeds the root system. Speaking of big, some of the varieties, the leaves can get very, very large. They can get up to 10 to 12 inches long and probably 3 to 4 inches wide. And when they first come on the tree, they're just a beautiful, beautiful light green color. This is our Macbeth loquat. It has some unripe fruit on there. Also has a lot of other fruit that's about to ripen. Now we have 4 varieties here on the farm. The one that you see behind me here is our Champagne loquat. You can see we have organza bags on this tree because it's the first one to ripen. Now we choose organza bags because they're very easy to protect each individual fruit without doing any damage to the tree itself. And applying them, all you do is just slide them over the top of the fruit, and then you cinch the bag against the stem. And that will keep the birds from getting to your fruit. It's done a great job of protecting these loquats here for the last week or so while we've been waiting for them to ripen up, just to ensure we don't have any birds getting into the fruit before we do. Now, we do have some successive ripening, and going through the different varieties, we have our Macbeth loquat that is very, very close as well. I would say it's probably about a week or so behind our Champagne loquat. We also have our Gold Nugget loquat that has much smaller fruit that's set much later than those 2 other varieties. That one will probably be ripe for us here in another 2 to 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks. And then we have our Big Jim loquat that actually hasn't set any fruit at all. That particular tree has been stunted in growth just a little bit. What's interesting about that tree is that is the one tree that gets a little bit of shade because it's closer to the house here during the wintertime, and as you can see, it's not growing as well. Since our Champagne loquat, I think, has some ripe fruit on there, I'm gonna go ahead and get a couple of these uncovered and we'll see what we have for today. So loquats are ripe, generally speaking, when they're a nice, beautiful, dark orange color. I have a couple pieces of fruit here that are nice and orange, maybe a little bit yellow. So I think we're just a little early, but they are giving slightly under pressure, and we're kind of anxious to try these fruit. We haven't had a champagne loquat before. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove one of these fruit, and then we'll try it with you on camera. This is a champagne loquat. As far as size, I'd say it's about the size of a little larger than a ping pong ball, and it's oval in shape. Now, I've had a lot of these, especially in my childhood. I know that we should have anywhere from 2 to 3 pits, sometimes more. It's very common in the middle. So I'll cut this open here in just a moment. But to give you an idea of fruit set to ripening, these started flowering around Christmas, and here we are at the end of March, and we're probably a little on the underripe side, but pretty darn close to ripe. You're looking at about 90 days or so, give or take, as far as flowering to fruit set and ripening. Now I'm gonna go ahead and cut this open so you guys can see what it looks like on the inside. This will give you an idea of the inside of the fruit. Nice and juicy in there. We got 4 beautiful pits that came out of this small fruit. Now you definitely can plant these. I don't know whether or not it would grow true to type because these are on a rootstock. So my guess is whatever the rootstock is or was, is what these would wind up being, but I would imagine you would get fruit. But what we're most interested in is the champagne loquat. So to give you an idea of how much space that pit takes up, you can see there's not a tremendous amount of fruit on here. But if this is anything like the loquats I remember, it's gonna be pretty good. So let's go ahead and try it. Oh, that's really good. Oh my. Nice and juicy. Can definitely tell it's just a little on the underripe side. The skin is definitely pretty thick. I've had a couple different types of loquats. Sometimes the skin is a little bit thinner. You definitely can remove the skin, and on this one I think I probably will. And you'll see the skin will just peel right back on these, so you can take that skin right off. Oh wow. So I'm gonna try to describe this for you as best I can. It's definitely very, very juicy. As far as texture, the best thing I can relate this to would be, say, a firm cantaloupe, and the taste itself has kind of a tangy, citrusy sort of taste. So I would say it's probably a combination of some type of melon, like a cantaloupe, and a citrus, like maybe a mandarin or something like that. But very, very good and very juicy. Ooh, this is really good. So the question is, would I get in trouble if I ate the other half of this without sharing this with Lori? I think I know my answer. So this is the rest of the harvest that we're gonna be looking forward to here on this champagne loquat. Now this tree is very young. You can see how much production is on here. We also thinned the fruit off of here. In fact, I'd say we thinned probably 60 to 70% or more of the fruit off of this tree. Definitely held a lot of fruit. You can see varying stages of ripeness here, so we'll probably be harvesting off of this tree for the next several weeks. I think the fruit that I got today was just a little underripe. I think it needs about a week or so before it's fully ripened, and it will be a little bit more sweet as opposed to tart, but a very good balance of tart and sweet. And what's great is with these other varieties of loquats, we should be harvesting loquats for the next month or two. So if you guys are like me and you're from an area where loquats grow almost in the wild, would love to hear your stories. I know I have some treasured memories of growing loquats in Gardena, California, which is where I'm from, but would love to hear those stories in the comment section down below. So just want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. We would love to have you as a subscriber here. Fruit trees are one of the main things we do, but we do have a functioning farm that we're starting here in the middle of the Arizona desert and would love to see you on a regular basis. Any questions or comments, those go down in the comment section down below, and our Amazon shop. I'll leave a link down in the description. That is a free, painless way to help support the channel. If you start with that link, it doesn't matter what you buy, you help to support us here, and we do have those organza bags in that shop. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere, so can you. This will give you that. Any questions or comments? Again, there's a fly right in front of the camera. Just kind of swoosh your hand, it's right in front. He's not leaving it alone.